Vietnam War Filipino Heroes, PHILCAG against 200 Vietcongs. Chapter 1. Arrival in the Fire Zone. The Filipino mission begins. Imagine walking into a country at war, not as a conqueror, not as a mercenary, but as a healer with a rifle on your back and a promise in your heart. Then, one dawn's light in 1966, Filipino soldiers, engineers, medics, and security troops step off transport planes onto the red dust of Thanh Province, South Vietnam, only miles from dense jungles where Vietcong guerrillas moved unseen, striking without warning. In the heat of a war that had already lasted more than a decade, the Philippine Civic Action Group, Vietnam, or PHILCAG-V, arrived with a unique mission: to build roads, repair schools, administer medical aid, and win hearts and minds, all while surviving a brutal conflict most Filipinos had never seen. At its peak, this contingent was more than 2,000 strong: an engineering battalion, a security battalion, a medical team, even field artillery components, a community of soldiers with a motto that seemed almost paradoxical amid war: to build, not to destroy, to bring happiness, not sorrow. Brigadier General Gaudencio V. Tobias, leading the 1st PHILCAG forces, surveyed Thanh before deployment. U.S. commanders briefed him on the dual reality here: active Vietcong presence and the opportunity to help civilians caught in the crossfire. From the earliest days in August and September 1966, Filipino medical teams treated thousands in hamlets that lived under constant shadow of ambush and booby traps. They set up dental clinics and surgical tents under tropical suns, their laughter mingling with the distant thrum of artillery. Engineers cleared thick forest land, areas once controlled by Vietcong units, and constructed long stretches of roads, bridges, wells, and housing for displaced families. These were not just military projects, they were lifelines to communities that had lost everything to war. Yet every mile of road built came with risk. Snipers hid in bamboo thickets, mines lurked under soil. The Vietcong didn't wage conventional battles, but they struck where you least expected, and PHILCAG sometimes found itself defenders as much as builders. In the shadow of the Dien forest, a Vietcong stronghold for years, near PHILCAG's base, Filipino troops pioneered civic action and faced constant harassment. Though not officially a combat force, the security battalion kept watch as engineers slaved over earth-moving equipment, hearts pounding with every rustle beyond the tree line. Their work drew Vietcong attention, not enough for a pitched battle yet, but enough to remind every Filipino in Thanh that peace-building in war is a dangerous endeavor. If you're fascinated by untold war stories like this, Filipino courage in the shadows of history, make sure to hit like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss a powerful story like this one. Chapter 2. The Calm Before the Storm. Peace-building under fire. What happens when the people you came to help become the very reason you must fight? In the sweltering heat of Thanh Province, as Filipino engineers cleared jungles and built roads, a storm was brewing, not of typhoons or monsoons, but a gathering of enemy fighters who wanted nothing more than to reclaim every inch of land reclaimed by peace. By late 1967, PHILCAG had become more than a foreign detachment. Filipino medical teams had treated hundreds of thousands, dentists and doctors had set up clinics, and engineers had transformed swaths of jungle into farmland and hamlets of shelter and hope. Their work wasn't just construction, it was an act of defiance in a war zone where villages often changed hands overnight. But with every school built and every well drilled, the Filipinos edged closer to the contested boundaries between peaceful reconstruction and battlefield danger. Vietcong guerrillas watched from the forested edges of Dien, a once impenetrable stronghold of communist resistance just miles from PHILCAG's base. Here, shrapnel from distant mortars and the crackle of rifles were daily reminders that peace and war could live side by side. As Filipino troops worked alongside Vietnamese villagers, they shared meals, stories, laughter, and worries. Though PHILCAG was a civic action group, the security battalion remained vigilant day and night. Rice fields just beyond their road repairs hid tangled trails where enemy scouts slipped past American and South Vietnamese forces. On November 30, 1967, the Dien Refugee Resettlement Project, a project of dreams, was completed and turned over to South Vietnamese authorities amid celebration. Yet that triumph was a fragile one. On December 16, 1967, an estimated 200 Vietcong guerrillas suddenly infiltrated the hamlet near Dien, the very heart of PHILCAG's humanitarian achievements. These were seasoned fighters, not just shadowy patrols, aiming to strike a blow against everything the Filipino troops had worked for. The fighters crept out of the forest under cover of night, heading straight for civilians who had begun to call these rebuilt homes their own. If you're captivated by this story and want more military history videos like this, like the video, comment what you think will happen next, and subscribe. Your support fuels more powerful stories.
Chapter 3. Inferno in Thanh Dien. The clash begins. December 16, 1967. A date etched in silent tension when a quiet hamlet became the epicenter of chaos, and Filipino soldiers who came to build hope were forced to fight for survival. The enemy? An estimated 200 Vietcong guerrillas, seasoned fighters born of jungles and shadows, now converging on Thanh Dien under the cover of darkness. PHILCAG was not a conventional combat unit. Its mission was civic action, roads, hospitals, wells, teaching, and rebuilding lives amid war. Yet this mission put them front line in a war zone where insurgents stalked every trail. Every road repair, every school built, meant edging closer to the contested boundaries of communist insurgent territory in Thanh province. At dusk on that fateful December evening, Filipino soldiers stood watch at the edge of the hamlet near Thanh Dien Refugee Resettlement Project, a place they had shed sweat, steel, and heart to make safe for Vietnamese families. It was meant to be a symbol of peace, a new beginning, yet the war had other plans. Suddenly, gunshots cracked like thunder. Vietcong guerrillas rose from the tall grass outside the village, firing automatic rifles and rocket-propelled grenades into the fledgling settlement. Chaos erupted. Civilians screamed. Children scattered. Filipino security battalion troops, trained to protect, not to hunt, were forced to respond. With hearts pounding and rifles raised, the Filipinos took defensive positions behind hastily erected sandbags and base camp bunkers. They fought not just for themselves, but for the civilians sheltered within, men, women, and children who had begun to hope again. Machine gun fire rattled through the wet season's humid air. Vietcong fighters pressed hard, attempting to dislodge the security troops and overrun the settlement. For hours, the battle waged like a storm of lead and shouts, until finally, with artillery support from nearby Allied units and sheer grit, the Vietcong withdrew back into the jungle. When silence finally fell, the toll was real. Filipino soldiers wounded, structures raked with bullet holes, but the Thanh Dien hamlet still stood. Civilians, shaken to their core, emerged from hiding to embrace their protectors. It was not a battlefield victory in the traditional sense, but in resisting overwhelming force and defending the innocent, the Philippine Civic Action Group had proven that courage does not belong only to combat troops. If this real war story moves you, like the video, comment your thoughts on what courage means, and subscribe so more forgotten heroes like these get the recognition they deserve. Chapter 4. Aftermath, Legacy, and the Filipino Spirit. When the smoke cleared over Thanh Dien, when the echoes of gunfire faded into dawn, what remained was a story not just of war, but of resilience, compassion, and legacy. This wasn't just a clash over land. It was a moment that tested the heart of a people who had gone halfway around the world to help. By the time the battle dust settled in late 1967, PHILCAG, the Philippine Civic Action Group, had already been in Vietnam for over a year, fulfilling a mission unlike any other: to heal, to build, and to bring hope to communities ravaged by war. Though primarily a humanitarian force of engineers, medics, and civic action personnel, PHILCAG also included a security battalion that stood ready when peace-building blurred into conflict. The clash at Thanh Dien was a harsh reminder that even humanitarian missions carry risk when they take place in a war zone. Estimates from historical sources show that about 9 Filipino soldiers died and more than 60 were wounded throughout PHILCAG's deployment, losses that remind us war doesn't discriminate between builders or fighters. Yet even amid danger, the impact of PHILCAG's presence was immense. Over the years of its deployment, Filipino engineers constructed tens of kilometers of roads, dozens of bridges and buildings, schools, refugee centers, and wells, helping to change the lives of thousands of Vietnamese civilians trying to survive in the shadow of conflict. Medical and dental teams carried out hundreds of thousands of medical missions, providing care that communities desperately needed, and in doing so, built trust and friendship between Filipinos and Vietnamese families. When PHILCAG finally began its withdrawal in late 1969, its legacy was not of conquest, but of service and sacrifice. The Philippines withdrew its main force by December of that year, with only medical and technical personnel remaining until early 1970. Today, monuments in the Philippines remember their service. Roads built by their hands still stand. Amputees and wounded veterans carry stories of courage. And in Vietnam, the communities they served remember the compassion of strangers who chose hearts over hatred, even in a war that seemed to have no winners. But perhaps the greatest legacy of PHILCAG was not its engineering feats or its clinics. It was the reminder that even in the darkest conflicts, hope can be built one road, one school, one act of kindness at a time. If this story of courage, service, and sacrifice inspired you, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe for more powerful war stories, and drop a comment below on what part of this story moved you the most. Your support helps us honor heroes whose stories deserve to be told. Innumerable thanks for subscribing, liking, and commenting on our video. May God bless us all, always.